You know the feeling, right? That creeping warmth, the little ache, the sense that your body is just off. We've all been there. You get a fever, and suddenly you've got a choice to make. Do you listen to your body and rest, or do you just push through and ignore it?
Well, the answer is way more complicated than you might think. We're about to follow the story of what can happen when a fever gets ignored, and how it can go from a minor annoyance to something way, way more serious.
So, to really get why ignoring a fever is a bad idea, first we gotta understand what a fever even is. It's not the enemy. In fact, it's one of the oldest, most reliable alarm systems your body has.
And this is the most crucial part to remember. A fever isn't the actual illness. It's a response. It's your body sending out a signal that the immune system is fired up and fighting something, whether that's an infection or some kind of inflammation.
Okay, so this is where we need to separate fact from fiction. We've all heard those crazy horror stories about fevers, but the truth is, a mild fever is actually a good thing. It literally turns up the heat, creating an environment where viruses and bacteria really struggle to survive. It means your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
But what happens when we choose to ignore that helpful little signal? Our story really starts in that quiet, invisible space between thinking it's just a fever and realizing, uh-oh, something is seriously wrong.
Just put yourself in this spot for a second. You've got deadlines, you've got plans, you have a life to live. That little headache and that heavy feeling, you decide, nah, I can handle this. You just push it to the back of your mind and get on with your day.
So, here's what happens under the surface. On day 1, it's manageable. But then day 2 and day 3 roll around, and that fever just isn't budging. In fact, it might even be creeping a little higher. By day 4, your body is in full-on battle mode. Your heart is beating faster, dehydration is starting to kick in, and your organs are feeling the strain. And all of this is happening silently, while you're still trying to power through.
So what's the real danger here? It's not just the heat. The true risk is what that fever might be signaling. What could be hiding in the background behind that rising temperature?
You see, a persistent fever that you ignore can be a huge warning sign for some truly life-threatening conditions. We're talking about things like sepsis, which is a massive infection in your bloodstream, or meningitis, an inflammation of the brain and spinal cord. These aren't things that just go away on their own. They are full-blown medical emergencies.
And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the problem. The most dangerous conditions often kick off with the most boring everyday symptoms. It's this tricky sense of normality that makes it so easy to ignore that first fever, and what makes it so incredibly risky.
And hey, beyond those hidden infections, the constant stress of a high fever can start to affect your brain function too. Now, it's rare, but it can lead to some real neurological issues, like confusion or even delirium, as your body gets pushed closer and closer to its breaking point.
But here's the paradox, right? If ignoring a fever can be so dangerous, why do so many of us do it all the time? Well, the answer is a pretty powerful psychological trap.
Just think about it. Most of the fevers we get do just go away on their own. Our bodies fight off some mild virus and we get better. But every time that happens, it reinforces this false sense of safety. We start thinking, well, it was fine last time, so I'm sure it'll be fine this time too.
And this is what our source calls the invisible gamble. Look, the starting line is exactly the same. You have a fever, but the cause of that fever changes everything. In outcome A, it's a mild virus. Your body wins and you walk away with that false sense of safety. But in outcome B, it's an aggressive bacterial infection, and that same choice, to ignore it, leads straight to a medical emergency. You're making a huge bet without ever knowing the odds.
So how do you get out of this gamble? Well, it really means we have to completely shift how we think about a fever. It's not an enemy you have to defeat, it's a messenger, and you have to listen to it.
Let's be really clear. The fever isn't the bad guy in this story. It's just the headline. It's your body's way of shouting that something deeper is going on, and it really needs your attention.
Think of it like this. A low-grade fever. That's step 1. That's a mild signal, a gentle tap on the shoulder saying, hey, something's up. A fever that hangs around for days, that's step 2, a persistent message. Now your body is raising its voice. And a really high or long-lasting fever, that's step 3. That is the urgent alarm. That's your body screaming for help.
When it comes down to it, ignoring a fever isn't a sign of strength. It's just a refusal to listen. It's a gamble with your health, where you can't even see the cards. So the question I'll leave you with is this. The next time you feel that heat rising, what are you going to do? Will you ignore the message, or will you choose to listen?